Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Welcome back. So what I want to do today is have a bit of a play with some stencils, some texture paste, distress inks to create some wintry backgrounds. And I've already cut out, I was thinking I was going to do tags, but I also thought I had the Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous Birch Tree stencil, which if I do, it has gone on a walkabout and I cannot find it anywhere. So when I was thinking that, I was thinking, you know, the birch trees would go this way, but I do have a birch tree stencil by, this is Memory Box. So instead they're going to go this way because I was going to make these all tags. So instead of that, they're going to be some tags, some long journaling cards, but I cut them to 6. So this is my Canson XL Watercolor paper, and it's 9 by 12, so I cut them into 6 by 3 inch pieces. And then this is some Tim Holtz Ranger Kraft heavy stock that I wanted to play with, and that's 8 1/4 by 11. So I cut them to 6 and 5 inches, and then going across you can get 2 3-inch wide pieces, and then one 2.5 inch wide piece for each height. So these are 5 by 3, 5 by 2.5, 6 by 3, 6 by 2.5. So that's what I'm playing with paper wise. Stencils, I've pulled out the Memory Box Birch Landscape, and it's 88550. I'm pretty sure this is discontinued. Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous THS 050. Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous THMS 188, and then Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous THS 132. So that's what I've got to play with. I've got Grit Paste Snowfall, Opaque, Translucent, and Sparkle. So we're going to do that first, because some we're going to do just straight stenciling, and some we're going to do texture paste and then inking. So we're going to start with the texture paste so it can have time to dry. So let's start with the first one. I'm going to use this stencil, and I don't think I'm going to cover the whole thing. So let's put this down. Let's put this down. For this one, let's do some Snowfall, which is sparkling translucent paste with clear glitter for texture and dimension. And this is a Tim Holtz Ranger seasonal release, which, speaking of Tim Holtz, I'm filming this on the first Saturday of 2025, and I don't know if you watched the Tim Holtz live today, but he is not going to be doing new product design, which I think will be good for my pocketbook at least, but I was kind of like, oh no more new Tim Holtz stuff. Although there will be some releases this year, he said, because there were products in development last year that haven't been released yet. So we'll still get a little bit of new Tim Holtz this year, but yeah, he announced that he's stepping back from designing. Which I'm hoping among the things that were already in works is some more Distress Spritz spray colors, because I really like the Distress Spritz sprays. Say that 5 times fast. Which, as I'm doing this, I'm kind of thinking I want a couple pieces of black and to play with the spritzes. All right, so I'm going to set this aside to dry. Gonna wipe that one off. And I want to keep using this before it dries. I'm going to grab one of the Kraft stock ones and use the opaque paste on that. So let's do that and do pretty much the same thing. And I'm okay if I get a little bit of the sparkle mixed in. opaque paste is getting dried out, and I don't know if it was what its texture was like before I switched to the rubber bands, which were something Tim Holtz has started using to seal up his pastes to help them last longer. Can't remember, or if this is how it is normally. It's one of those products I don't use often enough. And it's a good lesson, use your product. Because it's a little on the dry side. But it's okay. It'll do the job. Now, tip when you're applying paste, you want to still be able to see the pattern through the stencil. If you can't, you've got too much paste on. Definitely got a little bit sparkle mixed in there, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Now, I don't want this little like random arm over here, so I'm just going to use my finger to wipe that off and that bit there. And I'm going to wipe this off on a paper towel because it is got some glitter in it, and if I go to use something where I don't want glitter next time, I don't want to have put glitter into my opaque base. All right, so that one can go off to the side to dry. I think I'm going to toss that stencil into, I have a thing of water off to the side because you don't want your paste to dry on your stencils, because if you allow that to happen, it will gum up the works on your stencil. And so I'm going to put the rubber band back around. I did that, and I'm probably going to want more of that, so let's not do that. All right, let's do one of the shorter ones. Let's do this guy, and we'll use this stencil. Now, as the name suggests, this will dry opaque, so our things will be white when it dries. Set that one aside to dry. Let's do... Now, Texture Paste Sparkle is another translucent paste with a glitter in it, but this is where this is a clear glitter. This is a shimmery glitter. So you can kind of see it's got color to it. So let's pull that out. Toss that out. On that, and I'm just trying to decide if I want to do any more paste, and I think I'm going to stop there with the paste. I'm going to toss this into my bowl as well, again, because you don't want the paste to dry on your stencil or it's going to ruin the stencil. All right, let's pull over our birch trees, and I do know where my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station is, so I think I may grab that to help me out on this part. And this is magnetic, so I can put my piece of paper down, my stencil down. I think I'm going to go kind of like that, and use the magnets to hold the stencil and the paper in place while I ink. Now, let's pull out some wintry colors. All right, so I've pulled out some Lost Shadow, some Hickory Smoke. I need a brown. I may use some Gathered Twigs just for the ground. I've got Shaded Lilac, Chip Sapphire, Faded Jeans, Speckled Egg, out on my desk, and some iced spruce. So let's start coming up from the bottom, and let's also put our piece down so that it's straight, because that might be good. What I'm gonna do that, I think. Is grab a brush. And start with some wash shadow at the bottom. Let's see what that gets us down here at the bottom. It's very subtle. So now we're going to come in and use a little Hickory Smoke. Which is also, I think that may need re-inking. Very subtle. I don't know how well it's showing up. I can kind of see it. Now I'm going to grab a brown brush and do some gathered twigs at the very bottom, just to kind of give us a ground. Shift that a little because I want to come up. I think I was cleaning this off and I may have gotten it a little too wet. And so that's why we've got some like thicker than I would have wanted spots down there, but that's all right. You can always cover that up later on. All right, now we're gonna move on. Let's do some iced spruce. Now let's go into some speckled egg. I think I'm going to just use the same brush. Definitely going to have to try gluing that back in. Now I'm going to pull in some shaded lilac. Kind of blend through the speckled egg. Definitely getting a cool wintry feel to this. Yay! I want something a little darker at the very top, but I'm thinking the Faded Jeans and Chipped Sapphire I pulled out are more night sky dark ones than what we've got going on so far. So maybe some Tumbled Glass at the top. There we've got a wintry sky birch scene. And let's do one where we go more night sky. So we're going to go darker colors. So let's pull this guy over. Line it up again. All right, this time I think I'm going to start with the gathered twigs. And we're going to come up from the bottom. And now I'm gonna pull in the grays. Let's try a little Lost Shadow again. I hope Spring's Eternal that it's gonna show up more. It's working nicely to blend in with the gathered twigs. All right. Next, we're going to do, because I want to go darker, but I think I want to do some of the shaded lilac first. And then pull in our darker blues. Now let's go with our faded jeans. That's a little darker than I wanted right there. That's all right. What we're gonna do to help with that is grab our shaded lilac, come in and blend some shaded lilac into that. Now we're gonna bring some chipped sapphire in. We're gonna come in from the top on this and go like this, just to get our sky a little darker. Kind of blending over top just to get, you know, nice smooth blend to our wintry sky. By doing it on the sides as well, it kind of draws the eye in towards the center because we're making our edges darker. Now, if you want your edges really dark, a little Villainous Potion. That really gets your sky darker. You could also bring in some black soot if you want to go really dark on your edges, but I think this will be enough to get us like a really nice dark sky. Let's pull more chipped sapphire in. Kind of, woo, that was a little bit more than I wanted. Right there. Not that I'm that mad at it, but should have started off the page more so that it didn't go quite as dark. Yet another wintry scene right there. Let's see. I want to do some snowflakes, but I want it to be on an inky background. So let's do a little bit of inking on here. So I'm gonna do, let's see, let's do a little bit of chipped sapphire, some faded jeans, some shaded lilac, and a little Lost Shadow over here and over here and over here. And I'm just gonna spritz this, and just kind of get our ink on the background a little bit. Let's do one of our browns as well. Forgot to spritz it because I want it a little more. Ooh, that is very intense right now. I want it a little more blendy. And I started doing all this, and I just now realized my whatchamacallit, my heat tool is not in this room at all. I still haven't put everything back from clearing out the space to get my new windows installed, and yeah, I've got to get my heat tool. start getting ready because I have a hair appointment today. So let's just clean up some ink here. We'll let these dry. This is going to need some oxides because it's Kraft, and so the distress inks just kind of blend in. This is going to need more color. Let's add a little bit more of the shaded lilac. Let's do a little bit of a dry off. And let's put a very small touch of Villainous Potion down. Maybe a little ice spruce. And some chipped sapphire. Go like that. Yeah, these are nice, cold, wintry kind of feeling pieces, which is what I was looking for. All right, I'm gonna let those dry. I'm gonna definitely need to do oxides on this, and then I'll be back. Okay, so these guys are dry. We're going to set them aside for a minute. And I did find, I knew I had more of the Kraft heavy stock pieces. So I found those. They were buried under some stuff. And this is the one we did with the distress inks. And as you can see, you can't really see the inks on it. So I pulled out some distress oxides. I have fewer distress oxide ink pad colors. So I've got Ice Spruce, Hickory Smoke, Chipped Sapphire, Shaded Lilac, and Speckled Egg and Villainous Potion out. We're going to go very light-handed with the Villainous Potion. Let's start with our Speckled Egg, a little Chipped Sapphire in there, a little bit of Ice Spruce, just a dot of Villainous Potion. I think I need to go check on my dog. He had an escape event yesterday, 2 days ago. And so I'm not trusting him very much right now, and I can't see him. So I've put all the inks out. Let me go double check on the dog. He's not actually getting into trouble for a change. The reason why I was a little concerned was because my other dog was sniffing along the fence to the neighbor's yard, which was how Bert escaped. And so it made me think Bert might be over there, but no, he's in the middle of the yard. All right, we're just gonna, oh, that's right. I spritzed this because I want it more blendy than splotchy. Oh, and you know what I forgot to do was grab my, whatchamacallit from the other room, my heat tool. So that's, we're just gonna set that aside. I'm gonna, off to the side, just get this wet, because wet on wet blends with your distress inks and oxides. Wet on dry layers. So if you want it to be a little more blendy of a background, you need it to be wet on wet. We're gonna need some more ink here in a sec. And I'm gonna go grab my heat tool. I'll be so glad when I put my craft space back together. Let's just do this guy. And clean up whatever's on here. And then we can add more color to these guys. But I definitely need my heat tool, so I'm gonna go grab that. All right, I've gone ahead and dried them all. And yeah, definitely need more ink and color. So let's put some more stuff down. I think I'm gonna go a little bit more Villainous Potion this time. So Ice Spruce, little chip sapphire. And definitely some shaded lilac in here. And we're gonna spritz. Do a little bit of this just to break up how it's on the mat so it doesn't look, you know, when we tap, it doesn't come out as like squares on our paper. And my dog's over there choking on a piece of baby carrot. He's not really choking, he's just apparently struggling with eating it. All right, let's set that one aside. This one definitely needs more color. I'm gonna wet some more because we're getting it a little too splotchy. And I'm just kind of misting from far away to get a little bit more movement in the colors. All right, I'm gonna set those aside. Let me grab something to clean this up with. I'm gonna let the Distress Oxide ones dry. I'm gonna pull over one of these and I'm gonna pull over this stencil and stencil some snowflakes on using, let's do some shaded lilac and maybe speckled egg and see how that goes. Yeah, I think that's working well enough. I don't know that I want them too dark, but I think the speckled egg might be too light. So maybe we'll go Tumbled Glass instead. I feel like perhaps the stencil had ink still on it and I did not clean that ink off, because that's coming out. I think there's purple on there. I think there might have been some purple ink on here that I am now blending in, which is fine. It's very, very subtle. I think, let's pull in, let's do maybe one Villainous Potion one and a Hickory Smoke and just kind of do a variety. Oh, chip sapphire, that's what I should pull in, is a chip sapphire one. Ooh, that one's gonna be dark. So what we got going so far? Let's do a second row. I think we're gonna do light to dark again. So we're gonna start with, I think we did Tumbled Glass, and shaded lilac. Where's the shaded lilac? Right. Let's do the top one in shaded lilac. I like that. And what we're gonna do is take some water and I'm holding the bottle off camera and I'm pulling the trigger slowly, because if you have the distress sprayer, if you pull it slowly, it gets bigger droplets than if you do it quickly, you get more of the misting. And I'm gonna give that a minute to let the water reactivate the ink, and then I'm gonna dry it off. And see, so we've got it, it's a little more splotchy. And then the next thing I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab something that's in the other room. So I'm not gonna grab that. Yeah, my splatter brush is in the other room, I think. So we're gonna use this fan brush. We're gonna take a block. I'm gonna put a little bit of the chip Sapphire on, I think. Gonna add a little water. Gonna go like this. And just grab another paintbrush so that I'm not hitting it on my finger. What happens if I use... Ooh, that gets me some bigger dots. It's like, I picked this up at Michael's and it was one of those, I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm going to use it for, but I'm going to pick it up and play with it. So that actually, I kind of like that for some bigger dots on here. And let's grab our heat tool. Then what I'm going to do is go like that. Lift some of that up. And then I think what I want to do is do some shaded lilac. So I'm just putting some water on my mat here to clean off the brushes so that I can switch colors. We're going to try shaded lilac and see if that shows up. We might need to go with Villainous Potion to get it to actually, you know, show up on the paper because the shaded lilac's so light. Yeah, I think we're gonna add a little dot of Villainous Potion, kind of in the center there. Mix the two. And do this brush. All right, we're gonna set that one aside. This one, I think I am just gonna do some, I'm gonna leave this background as is for now. Because I think this video, we're just gonna create the backgrounds, and in the next video, we're gonna do some decorating of the backgrounds. So those two we're gonna set aside. And here are our Distress Oxide backgrounds, and I think I wanna do stenciling on one of them. This time we're going to use our Distress Oxides. This time I'm just going to go ahead and do both in each color as we're moving down the page. Now I generally keep, 1 to 2 brushes per color family. So I'm just wiping off the excess ink that was on this brush. The rest of this is staining. And now I can grab my Speckled Egg and go on, and it should be Speckled Egg as opposed to whatever blue was on this brush before. And that is just a slightly damp towel that I was wiping it on. You don't want it too wet or you'll end up getting splotchiness, which is what happened here. We got some splotchiness. We're gonna go Villainous Potion. Since we're going darker, it's not that big of a deal that there's Wilted Violet on here. And last but not least, we'll go Chip Sapphire. All right, and again, we're gonna do the spritz some water from a distance. Give it a second to reactivate the ink. clean that off. And we're going to do the splattering with the ink off of the whatchamacallit. And I'm actually going to do the shaded lilac. It should show up a little bit better as an oxide than it does as a distress ink. So let's try doing that first. A little bit more water. I'm just going to hit this with my heat tool, get it dry. And for a few of these, I'm just going to do that and lift up what's still wet. And I keep trying to hook. I usually have a command hook off to the side of my desk, but I haven't reattached it yet since since I had my windows installed. And yeah, so I keep going to hook it on the hook that my heat tool hooks onto, and there's no hook there. I'm gonna be so happy this next weekend, not this weekend. I am going to spend the weekend putting my craft room back in order. I've got Friday, I'm doing the event I was supposed to do back in October. So I'm busy crafting to get everything finished for that. And so don't have time to put my craft room back in order, but I will be very glad when I finally get to do that. Let's try a little with this guy. And I'm going to just set that one aside to dry because we've got other stuff we're working on, so we can pull that other stuff over. All right, so I've pulled back. We've got our pieces that we put texture paste on are dry, so we can have a bit of a play with them. I'm just trying to decide. All right, let's start with this guy. And what I think I'm going to do is grab bigger brushes. And we're going to go oxides. Go bottom up, and we'll start with Hickory Smoke at the bottom, I think. See how this works. And this is the first time I'm playing with the Kraft stock, so I don't know how well this is gonna go. We'll see. Some Speckled Egg. Shaded Lilac. Chipped Sapphire. And we should be able to get some of that ink off the, whatchamacallit, the stars. Except the opaque holds the ink a little bit more than the translucent, I think, will. It's just the consistency of the paste is different. So I have a feeling we may come back in with the stencil and go over the paste with some ink, or some paint rather, to bring that back to the crisp white, I think, possibly. I don't know. Again, I haven't played around with this cardstock very much, or the opaque paste in this way. So yeah, we're definitely This one's a total experiment right now because, yeah, I haven't really played with any of this stuff much. All right, let's see. Again, we can wipe off some, but I feel like I'm not loving how this one came out. Let's spritz it with a little water. Definitely wetter is doing more to lift it off of the paste. So like if I took some water and a paintbrush, I don't like that. Ooh, yeah. That definitely is lifting more off. Oh yeah, and then it really pops against the background. So yeah, it's good to sometimes just pull out your stuff and play with it and experiment so that you can see what properties you like about the product, how it best works for you and what you want to do. So yeah, that's the answer for those guys. And then it creates kind of a halo where I get it onto the paper as well as the around our stars, kind of gives them a little bit of a halo effect. Okay, so there we go. I've cleaned them all off. I think for this one, we're going to try dipping in and going a little bit more of a wet technique. But I think I'm going to set that one aside. What I may come back and do is place the stencil over if I want to get these whiter and add some paint on top. May do that, but not sure for now. I think we're going to just leave that. Let's see. Let's just put ink on the mat like we did before. Same colors that we've been using. And I am going to wet this so that it moves around a little bit. Now, because we've got the texture paste, it's a little harder to get the ink around on those sides. Like this would be a good time to pull out Distress sprays, but I just don't feel like getting out my splat box and doing that. So I'm going to just take a paintbrush and kind of scribbly paint the ink on and see what we get. Again, I'm going to do the same thing on, well, first I'm going to heat set this. I think I'm gonna do a little bit more splattery bits on. Definitely need more ink in here. Let's try this brush. I feel like I want some more chipped sapphire, that this has gone very purple. I would like a little more blue. Okay. This looks like a hot mess, but we're going to clean off our stencil bits like we did last time. And I'm just kind of putting some dots of color on as well so that we can get a little bit more of a splattery look using the brush to get in between where the stenciling is. All right, we're gonna set that aside. I'm gonna clean this mess up and then we're gonna switch to our white ones and use Distress ink on those. All right, so these are our last two. I think based on what we learned from the last one, we're going to just blending brush these colors on and then maybe do some dipping. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So I'm starting with Hickory Smoke Distress ink. Could use oxides on this, but I don't know. I just like my distress inks better a little bit. I think because I've used them longer and more, I'm more familiar with them, so I'm more comfortable using them than the oxides. Plus it gives it a slightly different look. I think I'm going to come in and pull in some more faded jeans in here and just get a little bit more blend going. And then finally, Villainous Potion, which is right here. More chipped sapphire at our top to blend into that Villainous Potion to get that dark going on. All right, now this should lift even better than the other ones. There should be more resist. Yeah, they're coming back even better because the translucent is a slicker surface than the opaque, and so it serves more of a resist. doing that and creating kind of like a corona, although I'm not sure that I love that. I think I took too much off there, but that's okay. I can always go back in and add more ink. A little bit better. And over here, let's just, I think damp cloth on this one should work fairly well. All right, we are definitely going to spritz lightly from up here. Pulling the thing way far away. Give it a minute to reactivate the ink. Go like that. And like that. And I think, whoops. I think I may call those done at this point. Like, we may do some more when it comes time to decorate. I may decide it needs a little bit of ink splattered or something. There's one thing more I want to do on the birch trees, and I want to grab my Distress watercolor pencils. I think we're going to use Scorched Timber. And what I want to do is go around the edges of the stencil. See these bits that come in? Should be kind of a brown if you've ever seen a birch tree. So I kind of want to do this. Then I'm going to take, and I'm going to put some water on my mat to wet my brush and just come in. So I'm just coming in and adding a little water to soften up where I scribbled with the crayon to give us more of a birch tree look. I think I may pull some over here just to, because, you know, birch trees aren't like a pure white. So we're just giving them a little bit more personality. Now, in case you don't have the Distress watercolored pencils, what you could do is put a little Distress ink. This is the gathered twigs that we use. A little water, and do pretty much the same thing. Though I'm looking at this going, I think I prefer the Scorched Timber color-wise for this. So let's swap that color out. Now, I'm not using a very wet brush, just enough to get our inks moving kind of thing. I thought it might be easier to do it that way, but no. My brain does not like it upside down. So there are those two guys done, and I think that's all we're gonna do for today. So let's bring over everything else we did. So we've got the 3 just kind of wintry inked backgrounds on the Kraft, and 1 on the white paper that I haven't figured out yet what I want to do with, so we're gonna save those for later. We've got our snowflakes on Kraft and white. Then we've got our Kraft texture paste, and this is the opaque texture paste. And then we've got our Snowfall grit paste and sparkle grit paste on our white backgrounds. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.